Hi, my name is Alicia Cox, and I'm Executive Director of Yellowstone-Teton Clean Cities. And now I am here with our second installment of our Choosing an Electric Vehicle through our Clean Cars for All program. So this is called Why Electrify. So I like to start off with thinking about what is my why. What's your reasoning personally for uh, looking into and potentially purchasing an electric vehicle? So, what are your core values? Are you doing this for your children and grandchildren because of the emissions savings and planet saving tactics of electric vehicles for the future, and also possibly for setting a good example in real time for them to see you doing financial savings? Sometimes there's more of an upfront cost with an EV, but there's typically huge fuel savings. Maybe you're somebody that just really loves new technology and wants to give it a go and be one of the early adopters in your neighborhood to share with others, or just experience and love and enjoy yourself. And maybe you want to drive electric because you know it's fun, because it is. So, why electric vehicles? Here in Jackson Hole, we have a large percentage of our overall greenhouse gas emissions associated with ground transportation. And throughout the country, this is also typically pretty high, around 30% or more. And it's exceptionally high here. So, this is something, depending on wherever you're watching this from, you can look into your community's greenhouse gas emission profile and understand the impact that your transportation choice can have on the overall emissions of your community. And then if you know your household footprint, your transportation accounts for about 30% of that. So, and with depending on your fuel mix from your utility, you can potentially reduce about a third of your household greenhouse gas emissions by choosing electric. So that's a benefit right there. So this is just showing the example of the emission benefits of driving an electric on our Lower Valley grid mix here. And you can see what that is. The national average for electric vehicles is located there as well. So it's just significantly less than driving a gasoline vehicle, no matter where you are in the country. So there is that benefit for the emission reduction. Additionally, as I mentioned before, there are fuel cost savings associated with driving electric vehicles. And you can see here, there's a couple different ways to make this calculation work out to try to show the equivalencies here between the two different vehicle types, because one is in miles per gallon and the other is kind of a different efficiency standard. But basically, doing the calculation with the cost of electricity on Lower Valley Energy's grid mix, if you go the traditional average of 12,000 miles a year on something along the lines of a Chevrolet Bolt, you'll only be paying about $175 in fuel. And then consider a Chevrolet Traverse, that will be significantly more. So this is something that is nuanced based on where the miles that you drive. If you are a 2-car household, understanding how many miles you're putting on each vehicle, and you can alter that if you decide to go electric and try to get more on electric for more fuel savings and emission savings, and then reduce the amount of mileage on maybe your second vehicle that potentially is gasoline powered. That's what we're doing as a family. And so then it provides you the opportunity to have even more fuel cost savings and emission benefits for your household and your community and the world. So currently, this is an important thing to be considering because we have access to tax credits. They do expire in a couple of weeks here on September 30th. So there's the new clean vehicle tax credit, and this is up to $7,500 for qualified buyers and vehicles. There's also the qualified commercial clean vehicle tax credit, and this is $7,500 up to $40,000, dependent on the eligibility requirements. And this is based on a lot of this is based on vehicle size. And then finally, there is the pre-owned clean vehicle tax credit, and this is up to $4,000 or 30% of the total purchase price for qualified buyers and vehicles. So there's a lot more to go into for these tax credits that I would encourage you to reach out to myself or others at Yellowstone-Teton Clean Cities, and we can help walk you through that process. But basically, if you are interested in buying a vehicle and capturing these credits, we would advise you to reach out to a dealership ASAP to understand what is available. And here's a few more pieces of information as well. So, as I mentioned, you have to be eligible as a household or an individual, but also look to see which vehicles are eligible. And you can do this on fueleconomy.gov. And it shows you here all of the vehicles that have met the eligibility requirements for where the vehicle is built, where the battery materials are sourced, and where the battery is also built. And you can look here. There's a lot of different models that qualify for these tax credits. And even if a vehicle you're interested in does not qualify for these tax credits, it does not mean that it's not a good deal. There's a lot. There's kind of there's vehicles currently available that are in a little bit of no man's land at the moment. So perhaps that vehicle, maybe let's take for instance a used F-150. That vehicle, to qualify for that pre-owned tax credit, has to be below 25,000. You're typically not going to find a used F-150 right now for below $25,000, but you can possibly find a used F-150 that's below the amount that this new electric vehicle tax credit brings the MSRP down to. So, say you're looking at a $70,000 new F-150, $7,500 brings it down to that, a little over $63,000, but you can find some used ones for $50,000. So that's still a great deal, but you aren't eligible for any of the federal tax credits. So those are going away on September 30th, but there are still going to be vehicles that are great deals, great fit for you and your household out there. So some tips, consider leasing also. There are a lot of incredible deals right now. And this is because the manufacturers can utilize the $7,500 tax credit, but they're also sweetening the deal by having some manufacturer rebates on top of that. And depending on what vehicle you're looking at, the residual value of that vehicle could be high, and that really brings down the monthly lease payments that you'll see and are being offered. So highly recommend looking at some leasing options at the moment. And then if you currently own an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid and you have for over 2 years, I would consider selling that to try to pass along that pre-owned tax credit to others, and then upgrading yourself to another electric vehicle. So then you're just moving vehicles through the system and getting more people into an electric vehicle, increasing the emissions benefits of electric vehicles for our communities. And as I mentioned before, just reach out to some dealerships to get a few quotes, get the ball rolling, and you're the wheels turning, so you understand what's out there and what some possibilities are for you and your family. So at the current moment, perhaps it doesn't feel like an electric vehicle is in the cards for you or your family. Well, you can still make an influence, because these are a great option to reduce emissions in our communities. So consider your spheres of influence. There's you, your family, and your household. Then out from there, work, school, or neighborhood, friends, clubs, sports, social groups, church, local government, state, federal, national, etc. Really consider where you feel strongly about electric vehicles and charging infrastructure, and voice your opinions. You have more of an influence than you realize. Actually, there's a study out there that most vehicle purchases are based off of word of mouth, what you've heard from a friend or a neighbor, not necessarily that advertisement you saw on the TV. So what can you do with that understanding and thinking through your spheres of influence so you can act? This is a webinar about buying electric, but clearly there are other even better emission savings options. Walking, biking, busing, and then buying electric. Share. So as I mentioned, word of mouth has the biggest influence on car purchases. So if you do have an EV, share it. Let people know that you purchased it and what you like about it. Particularly if anybody just has like a little question, really give them a great answer so that they can help them make a decision. Also talk about the rebates, your fuel cost savings, and this is even if you aren't buying. So this is something that you are aware of. The federal tax credits have been around for a while and they are ending in a couple of weeks, there are still people out there that haven't heard of them. And maybe they're on the fence or considering an electric vehicle, and knowing about the the rebates or understanding how much savings they'll see monthly for their fuel cost savings will really be that piece that puts them over the edge and helps them make the decision to buy an electric. Because sometimes, if you think about it, the fuel cost savings that you'll have if you're somebody who's driving a long distance for commuting and you regularly do the same route, you could potentially save that amount in gasoline and put that towards a lease payment, and that might even and that would hopefully be your lease payment would be less than what you're paying in gas. So that's really making the case for going electric. And then as I was mentioning too, if it's not in the cards for you right now, you can make some requests. Ask your employer to buy electric. Help them implement a green purchasing policy. Ask them to install a workplace charger. Having a level 2 station at your place, at a workplace, increases an employee's likelihood of buying an electric vehicle by 600%. So even if you can't buy that electric vehicle, you asking for that station might help somebody else. And so, there's these ripples in our life, and we just need to mention things, speak up, and request what you're interested in. And you just don't know where it's going to lead, and you may never even know the outcome, but you could be that piece that really makes it happen for somebody. And then you can engage with our programs. We have a program called the Electric Vehicle Experience. You see this F-150 here. We let folks who live in Teton County or work in Teton County borrow this vehicle to try it out for 3 days at a time. There's not electric vehicles on our dealership lots often for people to try out. So this really gives people an understanding of how it could work in their daily life, running errands, dropping kids off at school, going to the grocery store, plugging in at night, using public stations. So it gets them the real feel for what it would be and helps them make that decision to go electric or not. Level 2 electric vehicle rebate program. Sorry, I forgot the L in level. But this we have, as I mentioned, if you're asking an employer to offer level 2 charging, we have a program for that where we can provide up to 2 level 2 stations for a workplace or charging at multi-unit dwellings. Or the other option is $1,000 to go toward that installation if they already have stations in mind or purchased, and we can just help make that, ease the barriers there to installation. We have a Drive Electric Wyoming campaign currently. We have a website with a lot of information, Drive Electric Wyoming, Drive Electric Montana. And through those programs, we have EV owners groups located in Jackson, Bozeman, Fremont County, and a couple of other locations. And also through Drive Electric Wyoming and Montana, we have electric vehicle showcases. So either if you have an EV, bring that to some of our showcases that we schedule and plan, or attend, and you can check out all the different electric vehicles that are in your community. So reach out for those upcoming dates, and we hope you'll engage with our programs. And please reach out if you have any sort of questions and want some support on helping make the decision to choose electric or not. So capture those credits before September 30th and charge on.